Hey, welcome back, everyone, to yet another episode of the Three Man Weave College Basketball Show, presented by SportsbookReview.com. Matty Marcos is the host for today's, so taking you into the weekend with hopefully a fresh batch of winners to remove the stain from yesterday's losing crop. We apologize about that. We will get back on the winning saddle tonight. Ky and Jim joining me as usual. Before we get into yesterday's learnings, the takeaways, let's run through the housekeeping items here. First and foremost, always, SBRodds.com. Have that page open on your second monitor, your side screen, your iPad, whatever. Always have the line shopping tools at your disposal. Line value is king. We play numbers, not teams on this program. So that is absolutely paramount. Also, SBRpicks.com, right there, the link. It's conveniently posted at the top of the screen. Visit it. A lot of great content, expert picks, breakdowns, you name it, they got it. Please have that up on your browser at all times as well. Ky, I'll go to you first. Tell the fine folks in the chat mob what you learned last night.
Matt, I have just two small takeaways. Number one, Michigan State. Ooh, maybe they do actually suck. Now, they came off a COVID shutdown. We've talked about how that affects teams differently. Clearly, it affected the Spartans. And Rutgers, maybe bouncing back a little bit to where they were when they were a fireball earlier in the season. I'm more so thinking Michigan State just might be super, super bad. That was a 30-point loss. They scored 37 points. Yeah. None of that is good. Also, I just want to point out that the Kansas TCU score at half was 19-18 yesterday. Let's bask in that for a second. Truly awful basketball on display. Disappointed in the Jayhawks, Jim.
Oh, yeah. My takeaway was shout out to that first half and Fresno, New Mexico. That was also 19-19. We had 4 teams not reach 20 in 2 separate games. That is gross basketball. It was a weird night for hoops. Michigan State, obviously, as you said, probably the most pathetic performance of the night, but maybe we shrugged that off because of the COVID shutdown, the bad shutdown that they had. But they just have been bad for a while lately, so it's hard to say anything good about the Spartans at this point. Matt, what do you got?
Well, yeah, just to kind of piggyback off what you guys are saying, Eastern Illinois and who do they play? Tennessee Martin? Yeah, they said it, hold my beer. 51-41 final. It was the walking wounded on both sides. An absolutely disgusting game. But broader takeaway was injuries don't matter unless they do. Quentin Grimes was a late scratch from Houston. You know, we all kind of talked internally like, yeah, this is probably one that doesn't matter. Houston's just a machine, no matter who steps on the court for him. Sure enough, they had Tulane down 20 in a heartbeat. So you just have to kind of keep your eye on some of these injuries for certain squads. You also saw San Jose State without Richard Washington for the second game in a row. Didn't matter. They beat Air Force outright. It could just be an indictment of how bad Air Force is. But it's very unique how a lot of these teams just seem to rise and rally around the absence of a key guy, almost play better. The role players try to improve themselves and raise their intensity level. There's maybe more cohesiveness, more chemistry. Just something to keep an eye on. I can tell you it's been frustrating for us behind the scenes. Hopefully you haven't been falling prey to the same injury traps that we have. To the outline we go. A pretty solid slate here on the Friday evening schedule, but not a lot of big, heavy hitter matchups for the exception of this opener here. Big Ten batch against Iowa at Illinois. We're going to where's Illinois located? I'm blanking. Champaign. I almost said
Champaign Urbana.
Urbana, that's right, Jim. The odds makers, in my opinion, hung a pretty sharp line here. It opened at 2, has not moved. Illinois with 10 days off, so you got to think they're rested, they're focused. Iowa off that shocking loss to Indiana, a game which they went over 10 minutes without a field goal, a feat that I did not think was possible for this Iowa bunch. Indiana really clamped down defensively. I don't know, Ky. It seems like both these teams have really hit their peak. We kind of know what they are at this point. What gives tonight in this showdown?
Sure, but their peak is high, right? It's a fun matchup. Number 1, number 2, Big Ten offenses. The difference is Illinois can play defense. Iowa cannot. They're 8th right now in the Big Ten in defense. They don't pressure, and they allow you to take shots from the outside. Illinois is going to have to get the transition game going, actually, because Iowa is not that bad in the paint in the half court. Illinois, of course, likes to use ball penetration. Iowa, though, is a terrible transition defensive team. 299th in the country in field goal percentage allowed in transition. That's not very good. I think Illinois has the bodies, the athleticism to throw at Garza and at least contain him a bit. Jim, the over sounds pretty reasonable in this game. Sidewise, I'm leaning towards the home Illini.
I'm not touching side or over until I know CJ Frederick. It seems like his status, maybe not that big just on the surface. You look at, he's not one of their highest usage guys, but I talked about it after that Indiana game. They need his shooting because their bench has no real shooters. That's also huge for the over, too. If he's not out there, then I think Illinois can muck things up a little bit defensively. Indiana gave the model of how you double off of the non-shooters and give Garza a lot of problems with that. So I just got to wait and see what's up with him. If he's out, I would probably take Illinois. I just think the spot sets up really well for them, and Frederick is really crucial with his spacing. But not going to say anything right now, unfortunately. These two teams split last year. The home team won in both games. Very similar cast of characters for both. So stay away until I know about Frederick, Matt.
Yeah, shouts to Griffin Haddon in the chat mob, Jim, basically saying exactly what you said, that Frederick's health is key, especially if Jordan Bohannon is not right. He's been feast or famine all year long. If he goes cold again like he did against IU, you have to have Frederick in there. Otherwise, the offense becomes way too one-dimensional. So I'm staying away on this one. All right, next up here, critical A-10 showdown between the St. Louis Billikens and the Richmond Itsy Bitsy Spiders, as we love to call them. Tournament implications loom so large in this matchup here. Both teams vying for that coveted at-large berth, especially SLU starting to feel the heat after that crushing loss at home to Dayton. We talked about the COVID concerns. SLU with one of the worst COVID shutdowns we've seen this season. Those concerns came to fruition. They took it on the chin with a home run effort from Jalen Crutcher and the Flyers. Jim, I don't see a motivational edge here. What are you looking at from a matchup value perspective?
Matchup-wise, I think the physical experience defensively that SLU has can disrupt the Princeton. I think, Dayton beat them with getting them in mismatches and ball screens. Crutcher just attacking off of switches, getting into gaps, hitting shooters. It's not really what Richmond wants to do. SLU, all these guys have seen the Princeton before. And honestly, they were not sharp out of that shutdown. I like the Billikens here as an underdog. I'm going to take them plus 1.5 on the show here. I think they should be a slight favorite. I just think the value got knocked after that real poor performance, especially in the first half against Dayton, and weren't able to get over the hump in the second half. But I think they win this one on the road.
Yeah, the Bills looked hung over, Jim, in that Tuesday matchup. Just 2 offensive rebounds in that game against Dayton. That is just not characteristic of this SLU team. They're 3 for 13 from deep after shooting well for most of the year. This matchup's fun, man. The toughness versus finesse, I love it. Tough defense versus intricate offense. I think SLU, though, does get it done. They have a large advantage inside. They beat Richmond by 16 last year, guys. Earned a lot of trips to the line. Goodwin could not be stopped off the bounce. Also, I think it's key that SLU would fall to 0-2 if they lose this game. A little more like macro factors there when you're handicapping this. I do like SLU here, Jim. I'll join you at plus 1.5.
Right.
I'll be the black sheep. Sorry, Don the Don, asking for my opinion on this SLU matchup here. I got nothing. I made Richmond a slight favorite. I think the opening line and the current line are both pretty much in line with my expectation there. I think there's really no motivational edge. I think both teams, I could see this game going either way. So I will stay away for that reason. But I will be rooting for my cohorts, obviously, and all SLU backers out there. Next up, a MAC showdown. Yeah, we decided to weave in some mid-major matchups here. I think we've been skewing our outline choices heavily toward the big boys. We want to shed some light on the little guys. So we do that here with Ohio at Buffalo, headed to upstate New York. 2 of the top teams in the MAC, a conference that's really going through a renaissance right now. There's a lot of strong teams in this league, and these are 2 of the top dogs in this conference. Ky, the spread is settled around 3. It opened at a field goal. It doesn't seem to have moved off that line. So if you just assume home court is roughly 2 to 3 points, we can debate this all day long. But in my opinion, the odds makers have these 2 teams rated about equally. Do you think that's an accurate appraisal?
Just about. I think I have Buffalo rated a little higher. I'm a believer in both these teams, but I think Buffalo still has the ability to be the best team in the conference. Their defense is the best in the MAC. They have a ton of athletic guards and wings to throw at Preston. They also lead the conference in 2-point percentage defense. Guys like G. Nathan Williams and Mbala are great matchups for Vanderplas and Wilson for Ohio. And Ohio's defense has been poor in MAC play. They've kind of been a sieve in the paint. So I do lean Buffalo here at -3, Jim.
Yeah, this league is just fun because the offenses are crazy and no one really plays defense in the league. They're number 2 overall in efficiency in all conferences per KenPom. So there's just a lot of shootouts, and I think this one is probably no different. Both teams can really score. I am the conductor of the hype train for Mark Sears, the freshman point guard for Ohio. He emerged when Jason Preston was out for a couple games. And now they can go that double barrel point guard look with both of those guys on the court. And that's just so tough to stop. Ohio's got shooters. Buffalo, too, though, they are loaded with talent. I'm a little worried about them stopping dribble penetration. I watched their last game against Kent State, and they couldn't keep anybody in front of them, and that's a problem against Ohio. So the biggest lean here for me is the over, maybe a slight lean to Ohio on the side, but nothing official for me on the show, Matt.
Yeah, lean the over. I think Ohio is a willing companion or compliant with a Buffalo dictated pace. The running bulls are true to their name. They want to get up and down, and sometimes they'll get into lulls of half court dragouts. But when they get a matchup where they can really go up and down the floor like a ping pong game, I think that really sets up for a high possession game. Both teams should be able to score pretty efficiently. So yeah, I think the over's the right side here. 160
Matt,
and a
this
half.
isn't Pamplona, but Ohio will run with the Bulls.
Jim.
That's right.
Spicy Friday, Jim.
Oh,
you're all about, man. That's you.
1 for 1. A- in my official Jim joke score meter there. So the off to a nice start. All right. Next up, another mid-major. The Sun Belt, the Fun Belt, as we like to call it here at 3-Man Weave. Louisiana at Texas State. I think the headline here is really the fact that Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, their head coach, Bob Marlin, will be not on the sidelines for this game. He has tested positive for COVID-19. I did not verify who's actually stepping in to replace. I assume it's just one of their top assistants. I can't say I know a ton about that staff. I apologize for the lack of show prep there. But hey, Texas State has basically debunked the whole "we don't need our head coach" motto this season. They've been with an interim all year. Terrence Johnson stepping in for Danny Casper. 5-1 in the Sun Belt, have not skipped a beat. Jim, what do you think gives here in this one tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think your point on the interim coach, Terrence Johnson, for Texas State is a good one. They've been really, really sharp with him in charge, still defending at a very high level. Maybe not quite Danny Casper levels, but they're one of the best defenses in the Sun Belt. They've got a pretty solid record in that league so far. The one thing I'm not buying with Texas State right now is their 4th-ranked nationally three-point percentage. They've got some shooters knocking down shots over 45%. It hasn't really proven to be their historical levels. So I think that's going to come down somewhat. The key here, though, for them is keeping Louisiana out of transition. That offense can be really deadly when Russell and Wilson get going in the fast break. Texas State usually very good at forcing opponents to play in the half court. I still like the Cajuns, though. I think Theo Akwuba, the Portland transfer that's one of the best shot blockers in the entire country, has changed that defense. It's going to be too hard for Texas State to score, especially if the shots aren't falling at the rate that they have so far this year. So I lean towards the Cajuns here. Maybe not quite enough for a show play, though. Ky, what do you see in this one?
Yeah, going back to Matt's first point. Yeah, Texas State, 5-1 in the Sun Belt. Maybe they're starting to figure it out finally. All those games were on the road, by the way. This is their first home game since December 15th. That seems wild to me. Caveats a little bit. They played a banged-up Louisiana. They got the head case locker room crisis against Little Rock. And they played dumpster fire Louisiana Monroe. So are they as good as their price currently? I'm not so sure. However, I'm kind of staying back from Louisiana with Marlin not on the sidelines. Texas State's defense has been ridiculous in league play. But I agree with Jim. Their shooting is going to come down. 48% in the Sun Belt from 3 is not what this team's identity is. So I do lean towards you guys with Louisiana.
Also, I want to reiterate the fact this is the 3rd time these teams have played this year. The Sun Belt doing, I think, kind of that pod type format. So you'll see a lot of incidents where teams are playing for the 3rd and 4th time in the regular season, those geographical segments, if you will. These two teams split the first back-to-back series. So I'm not sure if there's really a motivational edge there for either side. Just something to keep an eye on. All right, that brings us to our chat mob break. I've been getting some flack calling me Matty Stayaways in the chat mob for my lack of or my extensive fence writing.
I like it.
That's true. I typically play the lowest volume of most 3, so it's kind of my brand. I like to own up to that. But hopefully we have some merge here. Jim, I will assume you are the czar for today.
Man, dude,
I volunteered for it pre-show.
Jim always volunteers. Jim really just he grabs the bull by the horns, kind of the running bulls by the horns.
I'm the least used chat czar, so I feel like I should do my part here. We'll start off with CSUN and Cal Poly, guys. This spread's come up a little bit. Northridge now favored, I think, by 5.5. I think you guys got to lean, Matt. What do you think?
Yeah, well, right on cue. I actually have a play, and I will give Jim credit for alerting me on the line movement here. I believe it opened around 3.5. It's been bet up to 5.5. I just think that's way too high. Cal Poly has been disastrous this season. You look at the final scores in all of their games; they're pretty significant margins. They are now finally healthy. They were not healthy for most of the season. It didn't really matter last weekend, but they have had competent flashes where they've played teams close for 20, 30 minutes. I think they're due for a good full effort against a Northridge team that's still sort of in disarray. I just got a few of their guys back. Jim, are you going to side with me here?
Yep, I'll take plus 5.5 with you, and here's why. They've played, Poly has played Bakersfield, Riverside, and Irvine. That's the 3 gigantic paint-dominant teams. and Poly hasn't been able to score against them because they can't match up with that size. But similar to why you took UC San Diego last Friday, I think this is Poly finally getting somebody a little bit more in their weight class, winnable game at home. They're not overwhelmed by size here. I will join you, Cal Poly plus 5.5.
Dude, double down, 2 official show plays right there, folks.
Nice. Moving on to Perry. He asks about North Texas and Rice, a game that was rescheduled for today. I haven't actually looked at the spread today. I assume it's the same, around 7 as it was yesterday. Jim, do you have a lean in this one?
Yeah, I lean towards North Texas, but I need to check on the Rice injuries. They played last game without Mullins, Havsa, and Evie, 3 of their best perimeter players. And that extra day to recover might really be helpful for them. So I need to make sure I check on that. Evie didn't even travel to the last series, but the other 2 guys did not play in the second leg. So just that's one I can't take until I know for sure on those guys' status.
Yeah, Mullins best defender, Evie best shooter, Havza jack of all trades. I think collectively they're worth 5-6 points. So if you factor that in on top of what I made it with those guys playing, I think the opening line's pretty sharp here. So I'm staying away.
We got a 2 from Hot Mail, Bellarmine and Kennesaw State, as well as South Dakota State and Denver. I like my Jack Bunnies, guys. I'm going to lean towards the Jack Bunnies in that game. No play.
I think that one got postponed, Ky.
We won't talk about that one.
We also know you hate the Pioneers. So that was a nice little double whammy there. Yeah.
Bellarmine versus Kennesaw State. Spread's pretty high, boys. I'm staying away because I'm tired of betting Kennesaw State. But Matt, I feel like you might not be.
Yeah, I did play Kennesaw small. I will not give it as an official show play. This team has talent. It's young talent, very inconsistent as you'd expect from a young team. Jim, do you think that they put it together for a full 40 minutes tonight?
I don't know that they'll ever play a full 40. I call them Kenny Seesaw because everything goes back and forth. This has been bet down to 7.5. So I'm not going to take it as a show play either. So it's just hard to know what to expect with that young team.
Yeah.
Better Spectator asks about Detroit Youngstown State. I like the Penguins in this game, guys. Short favorite at home. I think they still could be a better team than Detroit, but they're not being priced as such. Jim, do you lean towards my way?
Yeah, I lean towards Youngstown. Almost certainly no Quisenberry still their best player, but they've been playing without him for a couple weeks now. So maybe that impact is less notable in this one. And Detroit plays that kind of funky zone. So losing like a shot creator point guard is a little less important against a zone like that than it is against an intense man-to-man. So lean towards the Penguins as well.
Yeah, I'm on the diving board about to jump in with you there. I just haven't quite yet. I need like another half point of value. So if someone could bet the other side for me, that'd be great. Thank you.
Perhaps our most requested game, which I think is funny. We'll give credit to John. He asked about Omaha versus South Dakota. At the spread I saw last night and this morning, man, I still lean towards Omaha at 8.5. They do have a tendency to get blown out, as somebody pointed out in the chat. But I think South Dakota might be a little bit inflated, and this spread's just a little too high for me, Jim.
I kind of think the spread is right, personally. Omaha's out of the shutdown, could still be missing 2 starting guards, Thornhill and Ruffin, I think. No, Ruffin's back. Matt, help me out. Who's the other?
Marco Smith. Yeah, thank you.
So it's a stay away from me because I want to see them out of their shutdown. And again, another team that could potentially be missing guys due to contact tracing. Reporting around Omaha, basketball not elite, so stay away from me.
I did take Omaha small. I don't feel good about it, though. But I think they just finally had like a break in their schedule. I think there was a silver lining to the COVID shutdown. Such a world tour, if you will. I think they just got worn down, took some bad beats. I think they're a little bit undervalued, especially as they get healthy. But as Jim mentioned, you got to check the lineups. The COVID thing is always a big landmine you have to avoid.
We will do 2 more and then get back to the rundown. First one's from Abby. He asked about Green Bay Wright. I think he meant Robert Morris Wright. I'm just going to guess that, Abby. So Robert Morris Wright State. I thought the spread was a little high, but I'm seeing around 14-ish now, so no play for me. It's scary to go against Wright State guys in conference play. They have the ability to blow every team out in this league.
Yeah. I mean, it's 16.5 down to 14, so people are clearly riding Robert Morris today, and I think that's probably the right side. But at the current value, at the current price, I don't think value's there anymore.
Yeah, it's got sucked out.
Last one before the rundown. Harry. St. Peter's and Manhattan, a MAC matchup. Matt, you think this spread's a little high, don't you?
I do, and I hate betting on the Jaspers because it's one of the most frustrating teams to watch on offense.
Don't watch it.
There's zero plan on. It's just like you hope Sinner Stewart makes a shot or they go grab a rebound and put it in. But this game will be painfully slow for those that watch the Monmouth 47-42. I don't know, train wreck that was a basketball game last week. And I think this game plays very similarly. So 9.5 feels like a mountaintop to climb. I will be on the Jaspers at 9.5.
Yeah, I can't believe that the total's been bet up from 117 to 121. That's wild to me. I mean, this game could easily be, like you said, 50 to 48 or something like that. So that's part of why I think the spread's a little high, but I'm not going to recommend Manhattan because I don't quite hate myself enough to do that. Although, it's close.
You know what, Jim?
No Manhattan for me, though.
I do hate myself that much. So just in a self-loathing play, I will add it as an official show play. At 9.5, that's the official, the updated line.
Yep.
All right, Jim, take back the rundown. We'll hit the rest of the questions at the end of the show.
Well, Jim, I'm not the host, so I'm giving it to Maddie.
I'm sorry. I spaced.
Good tic-tac-toe passing. We're fine. To the outline we go. A repeat breakdown of this game. Boise State at Colorado State is next up on the outline here. We're talking the second leg of a back-to-back, the dynamics of which we are starting to learn more about. Colorado State, very impressive win in the opener here. Shocking effort, in my opinion, just the sheer dominance, especially on the glass. A Boise team that's huge, size for days. They out-rebounded the Rams the Rams out-rebounded the Broncos 39-24. David Roddy was a man possessed. Ky, I know we love the Rams here, but we also like taking the other side after a poor opening effort. Are you going to swing back to the Broncos here in leg 2?
To be clear, I like both teams a lot. Yes, I'm swinging towards Boise. 2 is a little high for an official show play for me, but I think it's totally reasonable. They're favored by 2 in this game. The Rams did draw first blood. They did look very impressive. They led almost the entire way, but Boise was ice cold. I think they turned things around here. Hopefully they stayed in a comfy hotel last 2 nights in Fort Collins. It's a heavy gut lean towards Boise with a -2. They're just too talented, Jim.
Yeah, and it's over to 2.5 and 3 in some places.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't recommend it at that price. It's been bet up from the opener of pick.
Yeah.
I like Boise there because I just think they're too talented to not split this matchup. We've seen a lot of splits in these San Diego State, Utah State, Boise State, Colorado State. This top 4 in the Mountain West. A lot of splits between those teams, and I would anticipate that happening again. But yeah, not going to recommend it above really -1 was what I liked it to. So.
Yep, I wanted to endorse as a show play, but I cannot go above 1. I just think that the value's been taken away from the overnight markets. Shame on all of you who hopped in way too soon and left nothing on the table for us. All right, next up here, we're staying out west. New Mexico State at Grand Canyon. For those not really privy, this is a sneaky big rivalry. Grand Canyon, obviously the program emergence under Thunder Dan Marley has been, basically sustained under Bryce Drew this year. But New Mexico State always spoils the fun. They always win this league. Just when Grand Canyon is this close to maybe getting over the hump, New Mexico State reminds them that, no, you're still the little brother of this conference. Jim, it's a tough spot for the Aggies tonight, coming off a massive shutdown of their own. Question marks abound about who will actually suit up tonight. Do you think there's any value in the Aggies here at the opening line or no?
Personally, I do not. You mentioned the dominance between these two. Just quick numbers on that. New Mexico State's won 8 straight between these two. They're 14-2 against Grand Canyon since they've both been in Division I in the WAC, and they're 5-1 against the number since the WAC started getting lined. So clearly, New Mexico State is dominated, but this is the Bryce Drew era. Might not quite be the same. But yeah, New Mexico State's played one Division I game all year. That has to be a hindrance. And honestly, like you said, we don't know who's going to be suiting up for them. They've got injuries. They got COVID issues. It is a mess to try and figure out what's going on with the Aggies right now. I actually lean Grand Canyon just because of that uncertainty and because of Bryce Drew maybe setting a new tone with the Antelopes program, but not going to officially recommend that either because I don't want to be the idiot that's like, why would you ever back Grand Canyon against New Mexico State? So sitting this one out, very curious to see who plays for New Mexico State because they could have a lot of value in the second leg if they're healthy.
Yeah, Jim, you said 8 straight losses. 2-14 Grand Canyon is against New Mexico State.
I also said that.
Yeah, I figured you might have. I was tuning you out. You took my best stat, man. That's an awesome stat.
Hey, he's
That's
on
ridiculous.
Chad's our duty, Jim. He's on Chad's our duty.
I was like, I heard Jim's 8 straight comment. Maybe he didn't say the 2-14. Nah, he did. Doesn't matter. Biggest rivalry, guys. The little brother comment's perfect. Grand Canyon hates New Mexico State. I'm not sure if the ire goes both ways there, but Grand Canyon's beat up on Tarleton State and Dixie State. This is not Tarleton State or Dixie State. I can't back to New Mexico State without knowing who exactly plays in this game, but I think 4 points is too high if 1 or 2 of those guys are in the lineup.
Yeah, I lean New Mexico State because they did play a D2 tune-up game like 5 days ago, so I think that does matter. I want to reiterate that. But I don't know who plays, and I don't. So that's why we'll officially stay away. And if we like the West Coast, for those who like the West Coast, well, get ready because we're going even farther west across the Pacific Ocean for our final showdown here on the outline. The Anteaters headed to the island of Hawaii. Yes, our Bows. I believe we won some coin this season back in the Bows. Tough matchup, though, against the immense size that the Eaters have to offer, Ky. And one thing that's been really catching my eye is just the mysterious absence of Bernardo da Silva, a key big guy last year for Hawaii. And this new front line has really looked, I don't know, to me, it's kind of like an island of misfit toys with the rotation that Aaron Gano has used for Hawaii this year. I think they're good. I just don't know if I trust them. I think there's some value tonight on Hawaii. Do you see the same thing?
No, I don't. The island wasn't friendly to the Bows in their series with Bakersfield. And Irvine is similar to Bakersfield. They're huge. They pound the glass. They get to the free throw line. So it's a better version of what Hawaii already lost to twice. And I don't see a clear path for Hawaii to score. UC Irvine's allowing 81 points per 100 possessions in the Big West in 4 games. Baylor's number 1 defense in the country over the entire season has allowed 86 per 100 possessions. UC Irvine's been dominant defensively. Yep. I am scared Hawaii just can't score tonight. I am staying away because of the whole island factor, Jim. I'm not sure how much home court is here, but maybe looking at leg 2 with the Anteaters.
Yeah, I'll be looking at leg 2 in this matchup, particularly. I mean, Irvine was out without a trio of freshman guards last weekend. Dawson Baker, DJ Davis, Andre Henry, all 3 out, I think, due to COVID protocol. Need to check if they're back in the lineup. Baker is very, very important, one of their best young players there.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Hawaii, actually, I just found this on their KenPom page. They have the lowest rate of getting their shots blocked in the country on offense, and they block the lowest rate of shots in the country on defense. So just block shots just don't exist in Hawaii games, apparently. But against UC Irvine's giant front court, I'm a little concerned that maybe that shows up. Not a huge factor for the handicap, but I did just think that was kind of fun. I lean towards the under here, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
nothing really on the side, but under would probably be my play if I wanted to head to the island late night.
Yeah, Irvine has big-time size up front in the paint. Hawaii has lots of length and size on the wings. Gano likes to recruit those multi-positional. So that's kind of the DNA of this Hawaii team. And Irvine's DNA has been set in stone for 10 years now, right? They always have monsters up front. They defend the rim at a high level. So, yeah, I think this could be a rock fight, Jim. I would also lean under, especially with the travel component as well. First trip across the Pacific for the Eaters. All right, 10:27. We have a good chunk of time left here for a flurry of chat mob questions. Ky, resume your duties, your well-earned duties of chat czar, and lay it on us.
Now let's do best bets first, right?
That's right. Best bets. It's too antsy to answer the phone.
Maddie V outline.
Maddie V outline returns. It had been quieted recently, but it resurfaces here. All right, who's up? I no longer have the outline because the graphic has changed.
Ky's best bet. Here we go. My best bet is North Dakota State. I think they're up to -3 now, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. The biggest factor in this game, Brandon McKissick. He is out for Kansas City. I'll put this more specifically. Billy Donlin said there's a 95% chance he doesn't play. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. Kansas City's offense is a train wreck even with McKissick on the floor. The Roos are 269th nationally in adjusted offense. When McKissick steps off that floor, they're going to be in very, very, very big trouble. He runs their offense. He scores. He's their highest used player. He plays their most minutes. And North Dakota State's perhaps the best defensive team in the Summit. UMKC might not score 50 tonight. On the other end, the Bison have a huge advantage in the paint. They should own it. This game will be slow, though, guys, so beware. Be patient. It might take a while for North Dakota State to get away from them, but I believe they will. North Dakota State -3, best bet.
Yep, I'm with you, Ky. -3. I totally agree. Donlin also confirmed that Marvin Nesbitt is out still, another one of their scoring guards. That you take 2 of those guys away, it's bad. Demarius Pitts, a third starting guard, missed last weekend's series, so they could be really, really depleted in the backcourt. They've gotten a little boost from Arkel Lamar, the UMBC transfer of beating Virginia fame, but it's not quite enough. I think North Dakota State's too good. I will ride with you, Ky. Let's take the Bison -3.
If it's nice, make it thrice. Also looking for North Dakota State. Donald Carter, stud JUCO guy who's supposed to run the show there. He made his debut last game. I think he plays a bigger role, has an impact, and thus there is some value on the Bison, in addition to all the great points that my colleagues mentioned. So, yes, that is a 3-for-3 weeb consensus play.
All right, my best bet, right, Matthew?
Yes, Jim. On to
you.
Am I
allowed to go?
All right. Yeah, you are. You have permission to proceed.
All All right, I'm going wild, wild whack here. Tarleton State plus 7.5 on the road at Utah Valley. Billy Gillespie, a very, very good basketball coach, maybe a psychopath, but pretty good coach. Had time to prepare for this one. The Tarleton guys got a little bit of rest after a wild schedule spot going from Cal Baptist to Weber State. They're back to full strength. Jonathan Jackson played in their non-Division I game. So they've got a little bit more depth, and they do a great job of walling off the paint, forcing teams to hit shots. That's huge against the massive size that Utah Valley has with their twin tower big men. And honestly, Tarleton played very competitively with a similar Grand Canyon squad. So I think Tarleton could even win out right here with the way their roster sets up in the spot against Utah Valley, who could also have a limited Fardaz Imac, their monster big man, rolled an ankle at St. John's last weekend. So we'll see if he's fully healthy. But give me the Texans plus 7.5.
Yeah, there's been no more feisty dog than the Tarleton boys this year. Gillespie has those guys defending like gangbusters. My best bet, I'm staying out west as well. UC Davis, I believe the updated line is 8.5. They are hosting UC Santa Barbara, Santa Babs, as Ky likes to call them. I think the Santa Babs team is really good, very talented. Joe Pasternak is a vacuum for transfer talent there. He's got some real athletes, but I think their value has been overinflated by a few massive blowouts against the dregs of the Big West. It's a similar dynamic as what you see in the Mountain West, where there's a very big chasm between the upper and some of the lower bad teams in the league. I think that causes some value inflation in certain parts of the spectrum. And UC Davis, they finally got back on track. They've had a whole week off coming out of a long COVID shutdown. I just think it sets up well for a good effort here. I think the line should be closer to 5, so I'll take 8.5 all day long with the Aggies.
All righty. Hey, Matt, chat 'em up.
It's time, Ky. Now it's
There we go.
Let's talk Milwaukee IUPUI really quick.
No, Ky. What about Monmouth? We need to talk Monmouth.
We will talk Monmouth next.
Okay.
Sorry, Cece. Milwaukee. I had a play on them at a lower number. It's gotten too high for me now, so I'm staying away at the current price, but leaning towards the Panthers guys in this one. They're just a much better team, Jim.
Yeah, they already swept them twice. They swept IUPUI twice, and IUPUI looked so incompetent last weekend. Even when they got Marcus Burke back from his weird COVID missing of a first half, they were terrible against Wright State. I lean towards Milwaukee, but at the number, I got nothing. I made it kind of close to what it was, so nothing for me.
All right, Monmouth, Niagara, here we go.
Woo!
This is kind of a rinse repeat for me from the Milwaukee analysis I just laid on you guys. Very, very high-tech analysis. Loved Monmouth at a lower spread. At -4, it's a little too high for me to take currently, but I really did like it early on this morning, last night, whenever it was at -3. I think it was even like -2.5 for a while, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to end up taking Monmouth with you guys. I made the line closer to 2-3. You got to check on blanking on the starter for Niagara, who has missed the last 4 games, Justin Roberts. Didn't think he meant that much, but you look at their efforts against Manhattan and Quinnipiac. I'd argue they should have gone 0 for 4 outright and against the spread in all of those games. So it's just clearly he's a kind of a glue guy that matters, and in a game that could be, it's kind of a close, a short spread. That small value could actually add up here.
Yeah, this is the tricky part about doing a show in the mornings. Is I think we all would have had Monmouth as a play here, and I certainly would have at -2, but up to -4. Got to trust value. Got to play numbers, not teams. So I'm staying away at this price, unfortunately.
Yeah, certain people don't understand that, Jim. That's okay. Dixie State, Cal Baptist. That's a question from Chase. Spread's too high for me, guys. I lean towards Dixie State. Jim, they're getting healthier. Trailblazers.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this line has gone up. I think Dixie State's a pretty solid, well-coached team. They got Dazon Youngblood back in the lineup. That is enormous for them. Just not a ton of depth in the backcourt. So having him out there versus the replacement value is key. I guess I'll add it officially. I will put Dixie State on the docket here.
I will too, begrudgingly, Jim. I'll join you. Just if you need
Dixie +9. Also, Matt, what was your best bet, by the way?
UC Davis.
Yeah, it's the spread was 7.5, 8. Do you still like it there?
I like it. Can I get 8? I'd take 7.5 too. I just would like 8. That's all.
I'll give you 8. I saw 8 out there, so I'm also going to join you there on UC Davis. Big old slate on Friday from me. Davis +8.
Last one, guys. I'm sorry. We have a lot of requests, but we're running kind of long here. Last one we're going to talk about is UC San Diego versus Long Beach State, because I know Matthew Cox has an opinion on the Beach guys.
The Beach. I've been on the Beach pretty much every game the last 2 seasons. This year I have not been, just sort of team in disarray. But this is a spot to get them here. I think the Beach really comes out with a strong effort today. They've had a week off. Dan Monson talked about how this team just needs time to practice, to gel, a lot of new faces. This is the game where Long Beach starts to really show their stripes.
All right, Matt, close us out.
Thanks, folks. Sorry we went long, SBR. But again, always have that SBR odds handy-dandy page open, sbrodds.com. Line value is king. sbrpicks.com/NCAA right above you. Expert picks, breakdown, analysis, etc. It's all there. Check it out. Like, subscribe, smash that button multiple times. It helps us, helps SBR, helps everyone. People helping people is always a good thing. We will see you back on Monday, same time as always. Good luck this weekend, folks.